Good day, everyone. Well, in celebration of the fact that we're out on the road again, we are going with a cycling theme today. And today we'll be doing a combination of, we'll be applying modeling, in other words, sequences to financial math. Okay, so it's application of sequences in financial math, because ultimately financial math and sequences and series are very closely linked. So your heading is sequences and finance, and arrows pointing between them. Right, and just an idea that I want you to be comfortable with, because it can save you a lot of time. If I said to you, increase 5,000 Rand by 10%, okay? How much money would you have if you increase 5,000 Rand by 10%? And it's not an instant answer, it's just a pattern. So you'd have 5,000 Rand, you're increasing it by 10%, so it'll be plus 10% of 5,000 Rand. So you'll end up with 5,000 Rand plus, well, 10%, okay, is 10 over 100, times 5,000 Rand, okay, which is, now if I look here, well, you can do another step, so it's going to be 5,000 plus 10%, 10 over 100 is 0.1, so it's plus 0.1 times 5,000. Now there are two terms here, okay, and what's the common factor there? Ishani, what's the common factor between that term and that term? Good, okay, it's 5,000. So if you take out 5,000 as a common factor, to get back to that term, you have to times it by 1, then you've got a plus sign, and to get back to that term, you've got to times it by 0.1. If you times that back out, you'll get 5,000 plus 5,000 times 0.1. Okay, and then if we add up the bracket, we get 5,000 1 times 1.1. And what I want you to start seeing is that link. You should be able to go straight from here to here. If you increase 5,000 Rand by 10%, to do that, it'll be 5,000 times 1 plus 10%, 1 plus 0.1, so it'll be 5,000 times 1.1. Now, in other words, if you see 5,000 times 1.1, you must also know that's 5,000 Rand increased by 10%. Okay, you need to be able to go straight from there to there. We'll do a couple more of those to practice. Alright, so just carrying on with that pattern, Georgia, if you could try this please. Okay. In order to increase 8,000 Rand by 5%, I want you to rewrite, how could you have 8,000 Rand times what will have the effect of increasing it by 5%? That's what I want you to get into the habit of. So if you have 8,000 plus 5% of 8,000, that will be amount in your account, which will be 8,000 plus 5 over 100, that's 5%, times 8,000, okay, which will be 8,000 plus 0.05 times 8,000, okay, and Georgia, what's the common factor between those two terms? Good, it's 8,000, so you'll have 8,000, to get back to there, it'll be 1 plus 0.05, okay, in other words, if you have 8,000 okay, times 1.05, what you've done is you've increased 8,000 by 5%. Again, I want you to be able to go straight from there. You see that? You must know 8,000 times 1.05. What are you doing? You're increasing 8,000 by 5%. Likewise, you need to be comfortable with the fact, if I say increase 8,000 by 5%, to do that, it'll be 8,000 times 1 plus 5%, which will be 1 plus 0.5, okay, and we get that as the answer. 8,000 times 1.05. Okay. Right, try to do this one on one line. In order to increase 7,000 Rand by 12%, okay, 7,000 Rand by 12%, go right down how we would work that out in one simple step. Okay, and it's going to be 7,000 times 1 plus 12%, okay, which is going to be 1,12. So that's how you'd increase 12%, 1,12. That's how you'd increase. That's not the interest you're getting, that's the amount after interest has been applied. Whoa, we didn't. Alright, Ratbags. Okay, if you go to, please go to your finance worksheet. Okay, and we're going to do question A, where it says NAO deposits 10,000 Rand into an account at the beginning of every year, starting at the beginning of 2020. So I always draw a timeline of financial math questions if there's more than one amount going in. So in finance, okay, our initial point that we normally use, we refer to it as T0. Okay, time 0. In we usually go in normal sequences. We normally talk about term 1. Okay, but this is at time 0, so we always start with 0 in finance. So at the beginning of 2020, she deposits 10,000 Rand. Beginning of 2021, she deposits another 10,000 Rand. All this time, your money's collecting interest. Okay, and she deposits another 10,000 Rand at the beginning of 22, and that pattern carries on, right? The interest being given is 8% interest per annum. And the question says, how much money will she have in her account at the beginning of 2021 and at the beginning of 2022? And most of you could probably figure that out quite easily, but really what this is leading to is what we're going to do in question B, which is we've got to get a recursive formula, okay, which will generate the amount of money in her account, okay, at the beginning of every year. Now, what's important is that the question says, how much does she have in each account immediately after the deposit is made? So we want to know what's going to go here, okay, and to get there, what have you done? Well, it's not just 10,000 plus 10,000, because this 10,000 Rand is going to receive interest for a year. Okay, 8% interest for 1 year, right? Okay, so it receives interest for a year, so to work out the amount in your account over here, it's going to be your interest plus your previous total, okay, which was 10,000. Okay, so it's interest plus your previous total, which was 10,000, plus your new deposit. In this case, there's your new deposit. Okay, your 10,000 Rand. Okay, so go try to work out how much money would be in the account at the beginning of 2021. Okay, so it's going to be, you're going to have, to work out this, the interest applied to the previous total, well, it's 8% interest. So it's going to be 10,000. If you apply 8% interest for 1 year, it'll be 10,000 times 1,08. Okay, that's your interest plus your previous total, plus your new deposit, which stays fixed, which is 10,000 Rand. Right, and if you go shove that into your calculator, don't die, dog. Okay, you're going to end up with, okay, where are we? 20,800 Rand. Okay, so you get 20,800 Rand. Okay, so you end up with 20,800 Rand. What's more important than the answer is a pattern. Okay, so to get to T1, what did you do? We said, well, T1 is equal to, well, the 10,000 Rand was what? It was the amount in the account at T0. So the 10,000 is T0. So it's T1 would be equal to 20 times 1,08 plus 10,000. So that all has to do with what's happening at the beginning of. So to get to T1, so the amount in the account at T0 times 1,08 plus 10,000. Right. Go do the same thing for T2. Work out how much money is in the account. T2 is the beginning of 2022. Okay. Will Naya have in her account at the beginning of 2022? Okay. So now, at this point, you had 20,800 Rand immediately after that deposit. Now you've got to go apply interest to that amount. Okay. So, to get to how much, we're trying to find out how much is in the account at this point over here. Okay. So T2 is going to be equal to, well, you've got to apply interest, 8% interest to 20,800. So it's going to be 20,800. Okay. That's your initial amount. You're applying 8% interest, so you're going to multiply it by 1,08. And then we want to know immediately after that deposit is made, so you're going to add another 10,000. Okay, go shove that into your calculator, and you should get an answer of what? And you should get 32,464. Okay, so at this point, we've worked out there's 32,464 Rand that she's got in her account. How much interest that she's made? Well, she's put in 30,000, and she's got 2,464 Rand interest in. That's how much interest she's earned. Okay, so that is where we're at. Okay, that's the end of A. Most importantly though, we know that T2, what was this 20,800? That was T1, okay, times 1,08, okay, plus 10,000. Okay, because in the next question, they want a formula to figure out how much money she has at Tn. So this is about patterns. So you're going to use the fact, when you do B, that T1, that's the really important bit, is T0 times 1,08 plus 10,000, and T2 is equal to T1 times 1,08 plus 10,000. The question is, for the next question, is what is the value of Tn? Okay, go figure out what the value of Tn is. Okay, get a recursive formula for that. Right, sorry, for B, instead of calling it Tn, call it Tn plus 1. Okay, so try to get a formula for Tn plus 1 in terms of the term before, in terms of Tn. Alright, so question B, they want a recursive formula which will generate the amount of money in the account at the beginning of each year immediately after the 10,000 Rand new deposit has been made. Okay. Well, we worked out in the previous question that the amount in the account at T1, to get here, what did you do? You took the amount at T0, which in that case was 10,000. You applied 8% interest. To apply 8% interest, we multiply by 1,08, and it's after the deposit, so we add 10,000. Likewise, to get to the amount in the account at T2, it's what we had at T1, which was 20,800. Okay, times apply 8% interest to what you had in your account, because it's compound interest, and then you add the next deposit, which is 10,000. So in general, to figure out how much money is in your account, in Naya's account at Tn plus 1, okay, what we're going to do, Kristen? Good, it's going to Tn plus 1, well, what are you doing? What's the relationship between 1 and 0? It's 1 less. Between 2 and 1, 1 less. So Tn plus 1 is going to be how much money was in the account in the term before, which is Tn, so times by what you had in the account before, increases by 8%, plus 10,000. So that is a recursive formula which generates how much money Nao has in her account, okay, at the end of every year, immediately after she's made the deposit of 10,000. Now, just one little bit of detail. Here we start with previous questions. We started with T1. Here we start with T0. So your terms are 0, term 1. So n is not an element of natural numbers; it's an element of whole numbers, and the whole numbers are natural numbers plus 0. So there is your recursive formula. Okay, all done. Muslims, high five yourselves. You should have all been screaming, okay, because you would have lost the mark if you had left. The question was, what's the recursive formula? Well, it's that, and that's right. So you get a mark here, a mark there. But in any recursive formula, you have to get the value of the first term, which in this case is T0, and the initial amount was T0 was 10,000. So that's part of question B. Okay, that's as much part of the formula that T0 is 10,000 as that one over there. So please get that down. Alright guys, so the next question says, so we know to figure out the amount of money in accounts after every deposit, the Tn plus 1, we've got the recursive formula, is equal to Tn, which is the term before, how much you had in account the term before, times 1,08, because you're increasing by 8%, plus 10,000. With practice, you can pretty much write that step down straight away. Remember, your initial T0, the first term in the sequence is T0. So you've got a sequence really, okay, which is goes 10,000 as your first term, 20,800 is your next term, 32,000, what was it? 32,464, I think it was, is your next term, 32,464, okay, so that's our sequence, okay, and the question goes 10,000, 20,800, and your third term is 32,464. So that's just a recursive sequence. Okay, is it geometric or is it arithmetic? Well, it's neither, because you're timesing and adding. Okay, so it's not arithmetic or geometric, it's a combination of both. So the question is, okay, we've got a recursive sequence question now, and you've got to find out how much money Nao had in her account at the beginning of 2030. Well, what term are we looking for? 2020 was T0, 2021 was term 1, 2022 was term 2, so 2030 will be term 2. So the question now basically is, I've got a recursive sequence, that's the formula for the recursive sequence, T0 is 10,000 Rand. Your objective is to go find the value of T10. So, on your calculator, okay, what we're going to do, well, we put in the first step, and the first step is, we do the first amount, the first term in the sequence, which is 10,000, so you're going to have 10,000, and then you press equals, so probably can't see anything, okay, then you clear it, okay, 10,000 equals, clear it, now it's equals, puts it in your memory, now you clear it down. What are you going to do to each term? You're going to go answer 1.08 times by your answer, your previous amount in other words, okay, times by your answer, and then you've got to add 10,000, so plus 10,000. Now you've got to check if it's working. If it's working, okay, when you press equals, you should get 20,800, which we do, and the next one we should get 32,464, and if I press equals again, you get 32,464. So I've got term 0, term 1, this is term 2, okay? So I'm looking for term 10, so I've just got to keep counting, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you get an answer of 166,454,87 cents. So that is how much money Nao will have in her account, 166,454,87. Okay, and that is the end of question C. Okay, well done, Zara. I want you to now go try question D. Question D says how much interest did Nao collect in this question, okay, over these 10 years. Okay, how much interest did she collect? So your key idea is her interest is what you got out minus what you put in. So try work that out. Right, Pilar, if you could be so kind as to do this next question for us. The question was, after this payment, this deposit of 10,000 Rand over here, in other words, beginning of 2030, we realized that now I had 166,454.87. The question is, at this point over here, how much interest had she received from the bank? Well, your key idea is how much interest you get is what you get out, okay, minus what you put in. That difference between what you get out minus what you put in is the interest that the bank has given you. So at this point over here, how much has she got out? She's got that amount out. How much has she put in? Just be careful of this. The first payment was at T0. Okay, so at T0 she'd made one payment. At T1 she'd made two payments. At T2 she'd made three payments. So at T10 she'd made 11 payments of 10,000 Rand. So the total she put in is 11 times 10,000 Rand. Go shove that into your calculator and you should get an answer of 56,454 Rand and I think it's 87 cents. I may be wrong. I can't read my writing. So that is the interest, okay, that she received in that whole transaction period. And that, well done Pilar, is the end of question 1. These questions are long. Okay. Okay guys, so question 2 of your worksheet says Carla deposits money into a bank account paying 12% interest per month, compounded monthly at the beginning of every month. So I always put it on the timeline. Interest is 12%. Okay. It says her initial deposit at the beginning of January. Her initial deposit was 500 Rand. Okay. And thereafter, now in the previous question, that every single month now deposits 10,000 Rand. Yeah, Carla isn't depositing 500 Rand every single year with no. Yeah, Carla isn't depositing 500 Rand every single month because she's increasing every single month. She increases her deposits by 9%. Okay, so 12% is the interest applied in the account, but she's not putting the same amount in every single month. She's increasing her deposit by 9%. Right? Okay, and the question said, so initial deposit at the beginning of January is 500 Rand, thereafter she increases by 9%. Determine the amount in the account at the beginning of February and March, immediately after the deposit is made. Look for a pattern of what you do from one term to the next to help you with your solution. And the first thing I would do, okay, is consider how your deposits change first. Let's look at the deposits. Forget about the interest being applied. We're just looking at how her deposits change, and we're looking for a pattern with that. So the key idea is her deposits in this case are not fixed, but her deposits, what she's putting in every month, increases by 9%. So what's going to her deposit be at the beginning of February? Well, her deposit at the beginning of January is 500 Rand. Okay, so her new deposit will be, if you're applying 9%, what's 9%? How would you work out how much you've got? If you apply 9% to 500 Rand, well, it would be 500. So to increase it by 9%, it would be times by 1,09. Okay. So now her deposit is, I'm not going to work it out, 500, because I'm more interested in the pattern. So here are your deposits, 500 times 1,09. Here they add 500, here you add 500 times 1,09. Her deposits increase. Okay. So this now amount, okay, your deposit at T1, okay, this deposit, you have to increase that amount by 9%. So you want to figure out the deposit that goes in here. Well, you apply 9% to that deposit in the previous month. So the deposit in the previous month was 500 times 1,09, whatever that works out to. Okay, so that's your deposit in the previous month. And now you're applying 9% interest to that. So you're going to times that by 1,09 again. And what's 1,09 times 1,09? So you end up with 500, sorry, I'm going here, times 1,09 squared. Okay, so you end up with 500 times 1,09 squared. Because you have 500 times 1,09 times 1,09 again. And you end up with 500 times 1,09 squared, right? So at T1, okay, the deposit was 500 times 1,09 to the 1. Okay. At T2, the deposit was 500 times 1,09 to the 2. Okay. I'm going to rub this out and put it here. So it's 1,09 squared. So at T3, well, what you're going to do? Okay, to figure out your new deposit. So here, the deposit was 500 times 1,09 squared. Okay, right at the beginning of March. It didn't ask you this, but at the beginning of April, well, what you're going to do? Well, here's your deposit at the beginning of March, 500 times 1,09 squared. If you increase it by 9%, because the deposit's increasing by 9%, your deposit at the beginning of April will be 500. 1,09 squared times 1,09 will be 500 times 1,09 squared times 1,09, which gives you 500 times 1,09 cubed. Okay, so at T3, your deposit is going to be 500 times 1,09, things killing me, cubed. Okay, so that is your pattern for your deposits, because your deposits are increasing. Carla's deposits are increasing by 9% every month. She's putting more in every single month. Okay, so I want you to now look at that pattern. It's not a recursive formula, it's explicit, the deposit. Okay, so at T, just look for the pattern. T1, 500 1,09 to the 1, that's your deposit. T2, 500 1,09 squared, that's your deposit. T3, 500 1,09 cubed, that's your deposit. So what's it going to be at Tn? Your deposit is going to be 500 1,09 to the n. Okay, so that's what's happening to her deposits, because they're increasing by 9% throughout this question. Okay. Right, Amira, you're going to do this next one for us. Question B, the question said, however, in question A of question 2, it says, what's the total at the beginning of February and the beginning of March? Now, your key idea is to get a total at the beginning of February, and it's immediately after your next deposit is made. Your total at the beginning of February is going to be equal to, well, you've got to apply 12% interest, okay, to the 500 Rand. So 12% interest to the previous term. Whatever you had here, at this point you had 500 Rand, you apply 12% to that, okay, plus, okay, it's immediately after your deposit, okay, and your deposit here we worked out was 500 times 1,09 to the 1, okay, because it increased by 500 increased by 9%. So how much they're going to have in February? Well, it's an interest applied to the previous term, so it's 500. How much interest are you applying? How much interest does this account give? Amira, good, 12%. So 12%, what do you times it by? Well, done, 1,12. So that's your 12% interest applied to how much you had in your account. And your new deposit is going to be plus, okay, our new deposit, well, you applied 9% to 500 Rand because it increased by 9% your deposit. So it's plus 500 times 1,09. We'll go work that out now. Okay, and that'll be how much is in the account at the beginning of February. Okay, so T1, okay, more important is the pattern, was how much you had in the account at T0 times 1,12 plus 500 1,09 to the 1. Okay, and we're going to look up that, and that. Let's try to get our formula. Right, so just do a bit of calculator work, Amira, and how much money was in the account at the beginning of February? Well, you should get an answer of 1,105 Rand. So in other words, your totals, here it was 500, here it is at T1, your total is 1,105 Rand. That's your total at T1. Now you've got to figure out what's your total at the beginning of March. In other words, at T2, right? So you're starting off with 1,105. 1,105 is T1. Here, 500 was T0. Okay, so go figure out by doing a similar thing. How much is in the account at the beginning of March? Righty, Mswalo, you're going to do the next one for us. Okay? And the question is, how much money is in the account at the beginning of March? Okay? So the beginning of March is at T2. Okay? So the principle is, how much money is she going to have at the beginning of March? Well, you're going to have to apply interest. You had 1,105 Rand in your account over here. You've got to apply 12% interest to that. So you're going to have 1,105. That's how much you had in your account at the beginning of the previous month. You've got to apply 12% interest, so you're going to times it by 1,12. So that's the previous amount, and you apply 12% interest. Your deposit now, okay, well, it's this. That was your last deposit, 500 times 1,09. We increase that amount by 9% and swallow. So what's it going to be? Good. 500, 1,09 times 1,09, because you're increasing it by 9%. So it'll be 500 times 1,09 squared. More important than the answer, in my opinion, is the pattern. So to get to term 2, what did you do? You took how much was in the account at T1, 1,105. You times it by 1,12 plus 500, 1,09 squared. Okay? And if you look, we look here at term 1 was term 0 plus that to the 1. Here at term 2 is term 1, 500, 1,09. That and that, okay, is a 2, right? Okay, so just do some calculator works and follow to tell us how much you've got in the account at the beginning of March. And if you do that correctly, you should get 1831,65. 1831,65. Right? So that's how much is in the account at that point over there. Okay. And the last question you've got to do is get the a formula. The textbook says it's a recursive formula. It's not a recursive formula, it's a mixed formula that you're going to get. It's a combination of recursive and explicit. So they want a formula, okay, that'll give us the amount of money in the account immediately after a deposit has been made. So, Nina Lawrence, you have the pleasure and the privilege of doing the last question. And the question was, as I say, in your textbook they ask for a recursive formula. They're thinking rubbish. It's not a recursive formula, it's a mixture. So we want a formula that will generate the amount in her account. Okay. In other words, 500, 1,105, 1,831.65, etc. Okay, the amount in her account immediately after, in Carla's account, immediately after each new deposit. And now it's about pattern recognition. So we had T1, to get the amount in the account at T1, it was equal to T0, 0 is 1 less than 1, plus 500, 1,09 to the 1. So that and that are the same, and that's 1 less. T2 is equal to T1, so that's 1 less each time. You're minusing 1. Okay, so term 1, term 0, the term before, term 2, term 1, you're applying 12% interest to the previous term, and that's increasing, so that number and that number always the same. So the general pattern is that the value of the term in position n plus 1 is going to be the term before, which is, if you in term n plus 1, the term before is term n, times 1,12. Okay. And Nina times what? Plus 500, good, 1,09. Those two numbers are the same. 2 and 2, 1 and 1, n plus 1, and n plus 1. In your textbook they often put in a k, doesn't really matter. Okay. And we should have asked for a formula to generate this. We're going to have to know the value of the first term, in other words T0, so we also have to write down, it's really important, T0 is equal to 500, that was your initial amount, okay, and you'd have to write down that n is a whole number, okay, so that is your answer, all three of those things, that, and that. The problem is with this formula, I couldn't ask you to go find some application question now, in other words, how much money is in, I don't know, beginning of October, because it's a combination of those things. So you have to do each one individually. You couldn't just press equal and equal, but you could program that into a computer pretty easily. Okay. Right, just make sure you've got all of that down. Hope it makes some kind of sense. It's been quite a tough lesson.